I don't think you're ready for these creepy urban legends from Idaho. Okay, I promise I'm gonna do my best with these. Idaho, with its population of a whole ass 5 people, has some pretty odd stories. Let's start with the one that makes the land of potatoes seem like a scene out of Middle-earth. Did you know that there are cannibalistic dwarves that are said to live in the Owyhee Mountains? This slice of Dungeons & Dragons life is actually a story that goes back to the Shoshone and Bannock indigenous tribes, when nearby Silver City was a booming mining town for white settlers. They often wondered why the Shoshone and Bannock people didn't fish or hunt near the Owyhee Mountain, until they started hearing odd things in the hillsides themselves. Sounds very similar to that of crying babies would be coming from nowhere. The dwarves are said to be 2 feet tall, with tails, and super strong. These miniature versions of Pennywise would lure away children so that they could have a feast. Would you be brave enough to go and look for the dwarves of the Owyhee Mountains? Like and follow for more, but I don't think you're ready for these creepy urban legends from Idaho. Did you know that the story of America's first serial unaliver comes from the land of the world's most versatile food? In the early 20th century, Lyda Southard's murderous exploits made national headlines, with 7 marriages under her belt, 4 of which resulting in her being a widow. That's not even mentioning an incident in Twin Falls which left a husband, brother-in-law, and a young daughter all deceased. She ended up being convicted of murder naturally and sentenced to life in prison. She managed to escape somehow in 1931. Captured again and then released on probation later in 1941. She kept her hands clean and stayed out of the slammer until she passed in 1958. She is currently buried in southern Idaho. Now, while this is more of a real story that happened, just the legend behind her was compelling enough to include her in this list of urban legends that typically talks more about the mystical and paranormal. Be sure to like and follow for more, but I don't think you're ready for these creepy urban legends from Idaho. Would you spend the night in an inn that used to be a tuberculosis hospital, built in 1917, originally as Gooding College, the only place to receive higher education between Caldwell and Pocatello? This building was purchased by the state in the 1940s and turned into a tuberculosis hospital. It remained a hospital until the 1970s, at which point it closed its doors and remained closed for almost 30 years. In the early 2000s, it was reopened and transformed into a unique kind of bed and breakfast, which appealed to paranormal investigators. Due to its history as a hospital, it has its appeal for people who are into things that go bump in the night, with reports from guests that include whispers and the sounds of footsteps in the halls, as well as an angry spirit that is said to wander the guest rooms. Ghost Adventures has even featured this location in one of their episodes. Be sure to like and follow if you would be brave enough to spend the night in a tuberculosis hospital turned hotel. But I don't think you're ready for these creepy urban legends from Idaho. One of the strangest legends that I've come across so far is the absolute denial that the state even exists. General consensus exists that Idaho was only put on the map to serve as a barrier for Utah from Canada, as well as a barrier between Washington and Montana. People ask, do you know anyone from Idaho? Have you ever been to Idaho? Do you know anyone who has ever been to Idaho? Since the answer to these questions is usually a resounding no, it feeds to the myth that the state doesn't actually exist. This is mostly chalked up to being more of a conspiracy theory than a legend, but it is a popular one that has made its rounds on the internet. Would you be brave enough to discover if Idaho is real? Like and follow for more, but